Though RRQ may have started a little bit slow here at EWC 25, they kicked things off with day 3 with their very first booyah on Bermuda. And Indonesian fans, I can imagine they are cheering for them at home, in the chat, anywhere that they are, because RRQ, maybe today's the day that they finally come back, because to be honest, they were very, very quiet for their first play day. Gideon, I'm going to have to start with you here. What was the major factor that actually brought RRQ back into EWC?
I think for one, I'm pretty sure that the audience in the arena itself, if you've ever heard of it, RRQ, no matter where they are, it's always home soil, it's always home ground. The kingdom always provides for them, especially with the fans. But in terms of the in-game, we've seen two sides of an interesting story, right? The proactivity within the game. When we're looking at the match rankings, right? Notice how majority of these teams aren't reaching into the double digits because fights are not only concluding extremely quick, but only very few squads, like Dragons, are able to actually recover from the initial first impacts, and then all teams, majority of them playing on the outside, unless you're BRU or RRQ, who took their time to show presence later in the game.
And now looking at the rankings, I'm surprised as well that Lost is in there, because earlier, when they went against Vision System, they were almost out. Only 2 remains, and then as quickly as that, just wiped out Vision System, and they are back in play, taking that number 4 spot.
I mean, there wasn't even a good idea from Vision, because, you know, they are kind of struggling in the tournament. So they you know, they can, I mean, try to fight against like one of the favorites to win the title, you know. So that was not like a good idea at all. So I think it's better for them if they avoid this type of fights, you know.
Yeah, high risk, but, you know, high reward, right? Sometimes you kind of have to take those risks if you want to keep your spot here at EWC 25. But it's pretty interesting that already right off the bat, we're seeing a very, very quick pace, right? The first 2 days, I kind of feel like the teams, yeah, they were kind of going fast as well, but it wasn't to the degree where everyone was kind of waiting for that third circle to make their move. It was from the get-go, you see people, you smell that blood, they're in your sights.
It's extremely evident when we do see Falcons taking the initiative to go, again, proactively looking outside of the ring to fight a squad. They end up winning the fight, especially against Dragons. And then, Redhawks, and all of a sudden R7 decides to get involved in these fights, right? And this was happening all across the map, you know, from north side to the southern side. And once we get to that third ring, I think that's when people started to realize, oh boy, this is going to be a pretty deadly match. A majority of people have lost a couple of fingers walking into the ring.
Speaking of deadly, I mean, you did mention it's always back-to-back engagement all throughout the map, but towards the 12-minute mark, we still have 10 teams remaining, and we seldom see that in competition here. Probably in the regional, yes, it is possible, but it starts slow. But this didn't start slow. It's just from the drop, they're always engaging, and quite surprising why there's still a lot of teams left.
Well, and I want to add about the fight of Falcons against R7, that it's really interesting to see like R7 performing that way, because they are not afraid to be like face to face with other Asian teams. So that's kind of interesting, because, you know, Games King was like shooting at Falcons A, and he was like doing such a great job, you know.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, GameSkin is one of the player that's really doing so much. Thus, all of the top damage that has been dealt right here being shown. And I would love to see a lot more from them. But look at the balance in terms of Purim United damage and elimination. It means that what they're reaping, they're sowing.
I disagree. They're doing too much damage. They're not getting enough eliminations. They're pumping out twice the amount of damage we're seeing the other teams are doing. And teams like Dragons, for example, which I'm extremely impressed by, I thought it was almost done for them. They managed to recover, they managed to re-equip, and they also managed to get into what, in this case, the final circle, which is only the 6th ring.
Okay, I want to play with the idea, because we saw Buriram having one of the highest eliminations and damage. What if they're struggling to get those eliminations? Like, they're the ones starting the fights, but everyone else is coming in, they're vulturing, they're stealing away those kills. Like, they can't play the game that they want to play. Like, is this maybe a warning sign that Buriram though they might be feeling pretty confident coming into their second play day, maybe things are just not panning out for them yet.
I refuse to believe it. I think they're just that good.
Yeah, I mean, we know for a fact Brilliant United doesn't start their fight towards the 15th-minute mark or close to that. And at that point, they had no choice. So they put in so much of damage, so put in a few elimination, even if they don't finish them up.
Right. It looks like we are ready to fly into Purgatory Survivors. So let's fly into match number 2 with Husky and AJ.
Purgatory time, baby! And it was a phenomenal booyah from Indonesia, courtesy of RRQ. But of course, seeing EMEA up at the top, seeing the Dragons breathe fire, that's exactly what we want to see out of the squads who are struggling to get into the top 12. But even if they do break into the top 12 right after this, the story would not be over just yet, because down at the bottom 6, all the teams at this point in time are from Group A and C who are in play today. So you have to keep this performance up, game.